Alrighty now. So today I wanted to learn how to make a pumpkin pie from scratch. Now I realize there's a gabillion videos on YouTube. No, not even just a gabillion. 2 gabillion recipes on how to make pumpkin pie from scratch. As a kid, my mom always used canned pumpkin, but the canned pumpkin she used is the kind without the spices. So it's kind of sort of homemade, except for the pumpkin mix. She added her own spices, and then she did make her own pie crust, which I'm attempting to do as well. I looked on the Crisco website, and I found what I think is similar to what my mom used to do as a recipe for making pie crust. She wrote it down for me. She wrote down a lot of my recipes. I asked her to before she got too old and to forget, and she was so willing, and I just cherish all those pages of recipes she gave me. And one of them has the pie crust, and I forgot to look for it where I have it stored away, and I wanted to be able to get it done quickly. It's 2 weeks from tomorrow for Thanksgiving, but I'm practicing, and you can never have too much pumpkin pie. Also, I am kind of working on some neurological pain today. Caffeine probably doesn't help, but I have a batch of my Mr. Folgers. I'm waiting for my cowboy coffee pot to arrive so I can learn how to make cowboy coffee. But Atticus has a tankard very similar to mine, and I love mine. Do you notice it's red? Yes. But it has a little place for your thumb. Got it from ceramic people, a couple who live in North Carolina, and they make these, and on the bottom of the mug it says God bless you. So it's really a special mug. Atticus and I each have one. His is a really cool army kind of green, and then I have this beautiful red which kind of matches a lot of the things in my kitchen and symbolizes other things. But in the meanwhile, I did prepare pumpkins that came from my garden. Hold on, I'm going to take a sip. Yeah, baby. And I prepared some other pumpkins that I grew from my garden, and they're the sugar kind of pumpkins, so they're the tiny ones, and then I got my shirt wet. Now, I'm also going to admit to something. As a cook, I'm terrified of knives. Ever since I was a little girl, my mom used to have a knife drawer, and she put the fear of God into me about knives, literally to the point where I thought the knives were going to come out of the drawer and attack me. And I have had, my mom has had to go to the hospital to get stitches once, so that didn't help. And then I think I've gone to the hospital twice because I've cut myself bad enough. So I'm really terrified about doing this, because pumpkins and squashes are notorious for being made of stone, and they're hard to cut. And I did sharpen this, which scares me too. So I'm going to wipe this one off because I used it on the other two successfully. So pray for me right now. I'm going to hit it, and then I'm going to do something else. Oh, this one was so much easier than the other two. But I am going to, I forgot the terminology already, and Atticus just told me. Where you take your knife and you hammer it down. Atticus! Atticus!
Yes.
What's it called when you hammer the knife?
Batoning.
Batoning. So I'm batoning my knife through the pumpkin. And you know what? Oh, this is wild. I think it got frozen. I'm keeping my pumpkins under a tent outside because I don't have room in my house. And I do believe this one pumpkin is frozen. Wow. Anyway, so what we're going to do is we're going to scoop all the stuff out. And I have my trusty little Folgers coffee can that I put stuff that I'm going to put directly into the garden. I'm actually going to reserve these for, I have compost worms that's separate from the compost bin. It's where I'm actually raising the worms to go into the bins. So you scoop all the good stuff out, and where I learned on the video that I looked at, they said don't worry about taking the stems off, it's not a big deal, and it's one less minor step. So I'm taking out all the guts and the inside like you would if you had a jack-o'-lantern that you were going to carve. And then I'm going to save that for my compost worms. And now I can take my glasses off and then just thank God that I didn't get hurt. So what I'm going to do, I just want to rinse them and get them moist. And then what I have is a nice, everything's heavy, a nice big stoneware pan. It's a baking sheet. I just got it in the mail recently. I had to find it on eBay because apparently Pampered Chef, I love those things. They used to have parties, just like Tupperware. So Pampered Chef can't keep up with their stoneware products. And what's really cool is, I guess during this COVID thing, a lot of people are cooking more. And I'm so proud of America for doing that, because it's so important to teach your children skills like that, and that they eat the best quality food that they can. But aside from that, what I'm going to do is take another sip, show off my mug again, and then take the pumpkins and line them up on the tray, upside down. This is going to be like a puzzle. And then we're going to take them over to my oven. I am really self-conscious in front of a camera, and that's why I'm not showing myself. Maybe one day I won't be. It's just, I think I mentioned in a video I don't recognize myself, and so it's kind of shocking. I have my oven preheated to 350 degrees, and I'm going to open her up, and I'm going to put the pumpkins in, and I'm going to check them in about an hour and see what happens. Okay, so I had the pumpkins in for an hour, and that was probably a little too long. So because I've done this is the first time, the inside is nice and soft. I'm going to scoop it out. I'm going to use my food processor, and I'm going to puree the pumpkin. So continuing the saga of making the second gabillionth pumpkin pie recipe, trying to get the camera straight. Getting used to a tripod. Okay, I've never done this before. I mentioned that I had to look online. My mother always made her pie crust from Crisco, and I can't find the recipe. So I went on the internet, found the Crisco website, and I'm doing their recipe for a single crust. I am a little bummed because I had my mom's pastry cutter, and I don't have it here. It's somewhere else. But it only requires a few different ingredients. It's 1 1/3 cups of all-purpose flour. And so I have them here. And remember, You can always tell a Tupperware lady. Flour in Tupperware, flour measured in Tupperware, and I'm putting it in my old sifter because I'm a sifting kind of gal. If you can sift, sift. And that makes you a sifter. And then what I do, I always sift my dry ingredients together, and I have a half a teaspoon, which I measured once again with Tupperware spoons, measuring spoons. I'm putting it in my sifter, and I'm going to sift it all together. Ah, so relaxing. Makes it all nice and puffy. But I am going to say it again. I have never in my 60-something years of life ever made a pie crust by myself from scratch. Or with anybody. So, it also says to add 1/2 cup of cold Crisco all vegetable shortening, which is here. Cold. So I had it in the fridge. This again, measured in a Tupperware container. I'm using my old school Rubbermaid spatula. So it says if you don't do it with a shortening cutter, then you use a fork. So sadly I'm going to have to use just an ordinary fork. I like to use vintage kitchen tools, and that was one that I had, and again I'm just kind of bummed that I didn't remember to get it out of the place that I have it stored, so I really want to get this done. And then it, oh whoa, it says 3 to 6 tablespoons of ice cold water. I did put water also in the fridge. This is the famous Tupperware spoon. They come off of the little hanger thingy that has ridges on it. I don't know if you can see it. There's a ridge, and for liquids you can go ahead and just measure it to the line. So it says 3 to 6. So I'm going to start out with 3. 1, 2. I'll do 1 because I wasn't supposed to put that in there yet anyway. Alright, so I'm cutting the shortening with the flour with no water for you, but for me I made a boo-boo. It's kind of like cutting lumber. I don't remember what the saying is. It's like you measure twice before cutting. There's a really good saying, but I just don't remember it. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. No, that's not about lumber. Anyway, I am cutting the shortening into the flour. And what it says is to make it into, I'm supposed to do the tablespoon at a time, stirring with the fork just until the dough holds together and forms a smooth ball. So you're cutting the shortening first to where it looks like little pea-sized flour balls. And by the way, I pulled out all the pumpkin from the pumpkins that I roasted. I pulled the pumpkin guts out of it, and I have it in a bag. It requires 2 cups. It just so happened to make 2 cups. Okay, so I'm gonna add another tablespoon of water. That was 2, and I was always taught in my homemaking class in junior high, the cooking class, is you say it out loud, what you measure, or how many things that you put into a bowl. Otherwise, you lose count. So how much was that? That was 2. Now I'm adding the 3rd. That makes 3. Say it out loud. Especially people my age, I guess, when we have so much we're thinking about. Or even when you're younger and you're thinking about all these different things you want to multitask.
It's true.
Hey, you.
Hi.
Still pretty dry. I'm going to add a 4th. Number 4. In the old Martha Stewart shows that I used to watch, and I'm not ashamed because she actually brought homemaking back into the home in the beginning, and then she got all metropolitan later on, and then I stopped watching her. Of course, she also became incarcerated, but I don't know all the details to that. All I know is that I really loved her show when she was on Turkey Hill. And I loved her kitchen and all her baskets and her chickens in her garden and all those things. I was so inspired by it. She used to make the best Christmas specials on television. I loved it so much. It was so much fun to watch. And she made some kind of a sponge sugar on top of these pastry balls that were built, stacked into a tree, and then she gosh, I think it was on a rack. She threw sugar, syrup, and then she lifted it all up and decorated a tree with it. That was an amazement. And then she made her own gingerbread houses too, with panes of glass made out of sugar. I mean, she showed you how to do it. It wasn't like these shows on Food Network where everything is a challenge. There's competition all the time and money involved. No, there were times that there were people on TV that taught you how to cook. Just simple stuff. Well, now YouTube does that, and I am so proud of the YouTubers. So that was 4. I'm going to see if it makes a ball, because that's what the recipe says. There has to be enough water in it to make a ball. I don't think it's quite there yet. I think it's just a tiny bit too dry. So I'm going to add, whoop, can't do it with a fork. I'm going to add number 5. 5. I know me, I'm going to knock that on the ground. Knowing me, I should put the cap on too. It's getting there. At least I think it's getting there, since I've never done this before. I'm hanging it. If you wanted a professional, you need to change the channel. I think that was the ticket. I think mine needed 5. So anyway, I was going to say that I remember many times that Martha Stewart made pie crust. And she always talked about butter being chilled. Everything needed to be chilled. To make pastry the best, it needs to be chilled. And my mom didn't do that, and it still came out okay. However, I do believe that there's merit to it being chilled, because I noticed that my cookie dough when I make chocolate chip cookies. It comes out much, much better when the dough is chilled before I bake them. Why? Because you can never have too much butter. Okay, I got that set. What that has to do with chilling, I don't know, but there was a lot of butter in pastry dough on Martha Stewart. Okay, there's the ball, and I'll be back. So I have a little help here in this pumpkin pie baking session. I wanted to go ahead and show you the ingredients for making the pie filling. We have brown sugar, yes, in Tupperware, measured in Tupperware. So what this recipe is requiring is 3/4 of a cup of brown sugar, and then a whole can of the Carnation evaporated milk by Nestle. And then instead of the recipe, I think it's allrecipes.com is where I got the recipe from. I went ahead and read the back of a old can that I had of canned pumpkin and what kind of spices they use. And the one in the All Recipes didn't require cloves, and I remember cloves in my pumpkin pie, and I really like the flavor of it. So what is needed on the back of the label, I should say in the recipe on All Recipes, it said 1/2 teaspoon of ground cinnamon and then 1/2 teaspoon of ground ginger. Oh, and salt, which I forgot to put out here. It's also, let's see, it's 1/2 teaspoon of salt, so I'll do that too. I'll get it now. In my little antique thing, I'll measure it out. But the back of the can says 1 teaspoon of cinnamon, 1/2 teaspoon of ground ginger, and 1/2 teaspoon of cloves. And that's what I have in my bowl. And my bowl is a Pyrex bowl, and it has a chip. It has a chip just like Chip in Beauty and the Beast. Isn't that cool? That's really neat. Alright, and then I have one hen. Do you see my resume? These are my resume hands. Remember those? Pretty worn out. One hen is laying eggs. So these are fresh eggs from the one laying hen. Now I do have 6 new pullets. Hopefully by the new year, next year, I'll be able to get more eggs. But I don't know what the heck is wrong. Like I said, ever since the bobcat, my hens stopped laying. They went into shock. So I'm going to beat the 2 eggs and put them in the bowl. And I have my pumpkin puree, which I use a Cuisinart, you know, those mixer doodle things. Food processor. This is a little tiny one. And these are all of the ingredients, and I'm going to put them all together. I did want to mention that in spite of the fact that my brown sugar was in a Tupperware bowl, I forgot to burp the bowl. So when you get Tupperware, when you get vintage Tupperware, you put the lid on, and then you're supposed to burp it. Did you hear it? The air goes out. I forgot to do that. Whoa. That label is not right. Because this is a fresh batch. What we used to do before Tupperware, my mom taught me this, is you put a piece of fresh bread, a piece of a slice, and you lay it on top, and then you can put it in your Tupperware or whatever container you're keeping your brown sugar in. I'm going to burp it still. And what it does is it takes the moisture out of the bread, puts it into the sugar, and then the sugar isn't hard anymore. Mine had just started to get a little too dry and too hard. So I'm going to put that off to the side, and then I'm going to stop the camera and mix everything together. Actually, I'll do it now, because I need to learn how to do this. That's pretty cool. Oh, wait! Before I do that, you have got to see this. One of these times I'm going to demonstrate how to make cowboy coffee. Yes, I got my cowboy coffee kettle. I found one on eBay. It's hobbit size, because Atticus and I are hobbits. It has a wooden handle. It's vintage. Isn't that neat? It's just right size for us. But Cowboy Kent Rollins is his YouTube, and he has a recipe for making cowboy coffee. He makes it all the time because he was it no, it wasn't Texas. I forgot again. No, Oklahoma. He's from Oklahoma, and he has a chuck wagon, and he cooks for cowboys. It's the coolest thing. And he does it on Big Bertha. It's a giant wood stove, and his coffee maker is like gargantuan and high and big and wide. And anyway, there's a technique to making cowboy coffee, and that will be coming up at another time. So let me flip this around. Side in my table. That looks pretty cool. I'm going to do my eggs. What you should do when you're doing eggs, I don't know how to do it with one hand. I don't have the muscle dexterity. You should do one egg at a time. But I know that these are fresh eggs. I save my shells for my garden, and also when you dry them you can give them back to your chickens for calcium. And these egg shells have been pretty thick. They're not flimsy at all. I've been giving them some new food mixed in with their old food, and I think it's helping quite a bit. Oh, I have a really cool, small, hobbit-sized mixer, which I'm going to use. No, I'm going to show you my vintage mixer. Isn't that cute? It springs. Let's see how it works. You're supposed to go up and down and mix your eggs. Kind of fun. What it's doing is it's like squeezing in between the coils. It's probably taking me longer than my whisker would have done. I like to whisk. I like to sift. Okay, I gave it a good sporting chance. My mom had a manual hand turning mixer. I remember her doing scrambled eggs that way. Now I'm going to use the whisker. I don't know what the name of that vintage one is, other than an egg beater. I don't know if it has another special name, like coiled egg beater, bouncy egg beater, springy egg beater, but this is a whisker. So I whisk the eggs. I was always taught that you can over-whisk, over-beat. I want to do that. So this is the pie filling, if I haven't made that clear, that I want to have made ahead of time. So here's my blended, my pureed pumpkin. That won't come out. I'm hoping that this isn't too dry. But in the past, the evaporated milk, gosh, it made it so runny, and it took forever to bake a pie. So this fresh pumpkin from the garden, we shall see. So I have the pumpkin. I'm looking at my recipe. 2 cups of pumpkin. Now a can of evaporated milk. Once again, a vintage bottle opener, can opener for Olympia beer. And they're saying it's the water. Yep, it's pretty much adding everything together. This is how we did it. Oh, it said to shake well first. Now I read the top of the can. Remember, this is... Okay, YouTube is new to me. It'll shake as it goes out. YouTube is new to me. Talking to a camera is new for me. And I have often messed up with recipes by not reading it twice. So I'm going to just mix it up a little bit before adding the dry ingredients, and then before adding the egg. I did not forget the salt because it's right in front of me. It does say half a teaspoon. This is just plain Morton salt. Added it to my spice bowl. I also noticed that when I pureed the pumpkin, there were some extra large chunks in there, and I just found one. I'm not really sure I want that in my pie, so I'm getting rid of that. Glad it floated to the top. Alright, now I'm going to add the brown sugar, and it's 3/4 of a cup. I think at this point I need my fork. My fork of power. You know, I know it's easy just to go ahead and go to the market. Whoops, I hope the dog licks that up. I know it's easy just to go ahead and get another can of pumpkin for like $1.79 or whatever it is at the store, and make it so much easier. But I've never had fresh pumpkin in my life, and I know that there's a huge difference. There's a huge difference having fresh eggs. The taste is eggy. It's just eggy. It tastes like real eggs. Or like tomatoes, when you grow your own tomatoes. The things you get on your burger, like at Wendy's or whatever fast food place is your preference, it's not the same. It's white and it has no flavor. But when you grow your own tomatoes and you cut it open and it's like blood gushing out, the juice is so red. Spices are not mixing well, but they sure smell good. So I want to incorporate, did I just say incorporate? I want to get everything really nicely blended in here. It says to use a mixer. I don't want to use a mixer, that takes too much time. Oh no. No, it did not say mixer, it says mix well. So I'll just mix well. for some chunks. Get rid of the chunks. Okay. I'm going to add the egg. The 2 eggs from my precious hen. I'm one of those kind of people who put stuff away as they're cooking. And that's probably not the best thing to do when you're filming. I don't like clutter. Clutter is not good in my world, in my Teletubby world. It's chaos. I can wait till the end. I have a sink full of dishes now. Some Tupperware. Okay, I'm multitasking. Okay. Blended. And I'll put that in the fridge, and then I'm going to get ready for making the pie crust. I think what I should do is also mention that you bake for 40 minutes or until the knife comes clean. Oh, preheat oven. That's what I wanted to say. Preheat the oven at 450 degrees, which I shall do now. 450. Start. So it can be preheated. And I'm going to put this in the refrigerator and then get ready for making the pie crust. Either. Okay, so in the recipe it says to have your table. I remember doing the rolling pin covered with flour. And then I was chilling the dough ball. It was a chillin'. And it says for a 9-inch pie plate, which this is a 9-inch pie plate, and it's steel. I'm not using aluminum this time. This is a magnetic timer. It's steel. That's how you test them, with a magnet, to see if it's made of aluminum or steel. So the pie plate is 9 inches, so it says to roll out the dough to 11 inches. That's why I have my trusty Westcott ruler sitting up here to give me an idea. I think it also said it should be. It doesn't really say how thin. I guess the amount that the recipe called for allows you to allows you to make the size that you need. I'm focused here. I know that there are professional homesteaders, not professional, but just experienced homesteaders that are looking at me all the time going, no, what is she doing? That's wrong. It's better this way. Okay, so all I'm doing is I'm going in my memory vaguely, I think from 55 or so years ago, of my mom making a pie crust. And as long as you make it into somewhat of a circle, it's not sticking, your rolling pin. I call that a success. And you know what? The truth is you don't know till you try. And if I was out in the wilderness, if I had gotten here on in a covered wagon and never had anybody to teach me how to make a pie, and I was just trying to figure it out, I was the inventor of pie crust, there wouldn't be any Food Network show person to tell me I'm doing it wrong. Well, that's way over 11 inches. I'm in good shape. There's just this funky hole here. It looks like a continent. It looks like the Antarctica. Antarctica? Is it Antarctica?
Antarctica? Yes.
It looks like Antarctica, and that's at the bottom of the globe, right?
Yes.
Arctic is on the top, and that's all ice.
That's all ice. Antarctica is
Doesn't that look like Antarctica?
That looks like Antarctica.
On the bottom of the globe?
Yeah, if you looked at the globe upside down, that's Antarctica.
Well, you have to see this. Just picture this on the bottom of your globe, right? That's the Antarctica. You have a lot of editing to do, just so you know.
That's okay. It makes it fun.
Okay. I'll move this out of the way before I drop it on the floor. It says to pick it up. It's the weirdest thing, Atticus. I have these memories, like of my mom doing stuff.
That's awesome.
And I don't know if I saw it on TV and it's a TV memory or it's a mom memory.
Well, one way or another, it's a memory.
This is true. Look at that. It fits. Except for that funky hole on the side. My mom was so cool too. She, if she made a boo-boo, she just patched it. No big deal. It's not a big deal. Me, I fret a little bit. So what I'm doing is I'm shaping it on the pie plate. Then my mom, okay, so memories are coming back once again. My mom took a butter knife and cut the edges. I sure hope I'm doing this right. See, now I'm fretting. My mom didn't fret. I don't think her mom taught her how to make a pie. I think she just watched.
I believe it. That's how you would learn back in the day. You would observe things.
Yeah, but like I was saying, if you're the inventor of a pie, and this is the first time a pie's ever been made. There's nobody standing around going, "No, that's wrong. You're doing it wrong." My mom, now here's another thing I remember. She did not crimp the edges. You're supposed to go like this with your fingers and crimp.
Neener.
Yeah, there was a neener involved too. She would take a fork. Now, I don't know if she did it. I don't think she ever made pumpkin pie from scratch. I'm not really 100% sure on that one. But she would just use a fork and make a decorative edge that way. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do what Mom did. I can't believe I made this crust out of kids.
I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
It's true though.
That's the oven saying it's preheated. I'm so close. You have no idea. I'm so close to putting this in the oven. I can already tell one side of the pie is going to be thinner than the other. But I'll bet we'll eat it anyway. Okay, I'm going to get the inside filling out of the fridge. I'm going to stir it up one more time. Please don't let me drop it. This is exciting! Oh my gosh! This is all from scratch and the pumpkins are from the garden. Wow, let's see what happens. I'm pouring. Is it maximum capacity? Wow. How am I going to carry that to the oven?
With major balance.
Major. I don't like how that is on that end. Oh, don't mess with it. Alright, carefully. Oh, I got, shoot! I have to put the rack in the middle. Here we go. I'm going to hold my breath. Please, 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 please.
Don't shake. Don't shake.
I can't. It already spilled.
No!
I'm taking some out. I saw some pumpkin bits. Okay. The edge of my crust is ruined. No! It was that funky spot.
Oh, won't you take me to Funky Town?
It's the first time.
Yes, it is.
I'll remember.
And you're
next
real,
time.
which will inspire others to be real like you.
I need a coffee.
Shall I press the button here?
Yeah, we'll see you in 40 minutes.
Hey.
Okay, so to tell how it's done, and I've already tested it once, is you take a clean knife, you insert it in the center, and if it comes out clean, it's ready. So this pumpkin pie is done. Happy Thanksgiving. In a week and a half.